Hi, welcome back to my channel, and today I would like to talk about something called Infection Monkey. Infection Monkey is basically an adversarial emulation kind of platform, software. How it works is that you can either compile it from source, you can run it, or you can just download the app image file. Okay, so the app image file basically runs like a regular binary on Linux, and I will show it to you in a while. But before we go into that, why is it I'm talking about this today is because I have a friend who showed me sort of a redacted pen test report that his company did a couple of months ago. And this pen test report basically covered this pen test report was only covered an external pen test report, which means that what they did was they scanned the entire block of IP address that is owned by them, by their organization. Um, yeah, so they scanned from the outside, and basically the pen test report came back with nothing. It was practically quite a useless, pen test report. And he was asking me this question. He was asking if, does this mean that we are totally safe? No, we are totally impervious to any kind of attack since the pen test report shows nothing at all. And I guess this is a common misconception that a lot of people have. I wouldn't say the security experts or the IT people, but no, amongst the general public, most people have this wrong misconception. They think that, oh, if I have a perimeter firewall, I'm totally secure and safe from any kind of attacks externally. Okay, and this is very untrue. Okay, this is not true because in the past, maybe because when people host servers behind their network and they punch holes through the firewall to those servers, for example, they have email servers or web servers or some kind of a web-based application that's running behind the firewall, and they punch holes through it directly, then yeah, that might be a problem. Okay. However, in today's world, things are so advanced. Okay, malware creators are so advanced, malware developers, hackers are so advanced that they do not require you to punch holes through your firewall to be safe. So how do they actually get onto your corporate LAN? How do they get into your internal networks? Okay, it's basically they use a series of things like it could be a combination of things like certain social engineering techniques or phishing, spear phishing, or they somehow just manipulate you, get a whole bunch of numbers to call you guys and pretend to speak to somebody and convince them to actually visit a certain link, download a certain file, or even say, hey, I'm going to send over my resume, in a Word document or something. And when they open up that document is loaded with some kind of script that executes in the background, and maybe execute some kind of loader that pulls the actual malware and installs it into your system. So this malware, we call it implants, right? So and what happens is that once that system is being compromised that way, okay, once it gets infected by those implants, we call it the C2 implants, right? Once C2 implants or C2 malware infect the computer, they can actually make an outbound connection. And some people say, yeah, but my firewall blocks other ports. That's true, but they can still make a callback to port 443. Some people say, hey, my company uses certain kind of proxies. Yeah, it doesn't matter because even the modern C2 kind of implants, they are able to actually leverage proxies to actually make the connection out towards the internet. Okay, so long story short, once any of these computers on your network, on your corporate LAN, installs any of such C2 implants, C2 kind of malware, they can make a connection back to the hacker server that's up on the internet. Okay, and once they make the connection back to the C2 server, they will be able to gain control of your network. They can steal your data, they can exfiltrate data, they can do all sorts of anything they want, even just or even like look around, probe further into your network to see what they can find and use. So this is basically this is currently the biggest threat that the IT world is facing right now. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of people in the general public who do not really understand, especially in management. There's a lot of people who don't understand how hackers actually work. So one of the great things that we have in living in this time and age is that we have what is known as adversarial emulation kind of software. So we have things like Caldera, which is a bit more complex. We have Infection Monkey that is a lot simpler, or we can even go for the real kind of C2 platform like Sliver and things like that. We can actually use that as well. Okay, but just for the sake of trying to test your own security to see how vulnerable you are to such attacks, I think Infection Monkey or Caldera would probably be a better choice, right? Now, again, to be clear, Infection Monkey is not. Try not to use it on your production network because it leaves behind artifacts, and that's not very good because yeah, it might. If something really does happen and you guys call in forensics to your, to look into the incident, or incident response may actually look at it and think that, oh, no, we're getting hacked or something like that, but actually there's no incident at all. It could be a false positive. So it's preferred that it's. I mean, preferably you use Infection Monkey on something like your UAT network or something instead of the production network. Okay. Yeah, just to see how safe and how secure you really are. Okay, so this is basically the setup that I have. I have a perimeter firewall. Uh, and just for sake of this demonstration, I only have one segment that's connected to my corporate LAN. Okay, the corporate LAN is basically using a 192.168.50.x. Okay, so these are all on the same corporate LAN. One of my computers, one of my Win 10 Pro computers over here that I'm going to simulate the infection from, has a second network card that is connected to the hidden PC. Okay, so this PC over here, this Win 10 Pro node has two network interfaces, one going to a corporate LAN and one that is a private network to connected to another hidden PC. And we can see from here how Monkey Island, or rather Infection Monkey, is able to not just pick up infect this computer, is able to pivot and find a computer that's on a different network as well, and it will be able to look for other computers which exist within your corporate network. Okay, yeah. So before we begin, the place that we launch it from is called Monkey Island, and it's pretty simple. So let me just show you how it looks like. You can see I got quite a number of VMs running. So Infection Monkey is yeah. After you download Infection Monkey, it looks something like this, okay, like an app image, and you can just / run it like this. And it does take some time to start up. Okay, so while it is starting up, we just give it a few seconds. Now, when this is starting up, we can actually kind of like open up a browser. Okay, let me just close my browser. Let me show it to you, and let me see what is my IP address for this guy. So I'm just going to switch over to our tab. I've config. Okay, 10.10.10 Okay. So opening up a browser, I can just go to 10.10.10 HTTPS 108, and the Infection Monkey admin port is 5000. So we connect to the admin port. There's going to be something about the certificates, because this is using like a private self-signed cert, right? So just proceed and go ahead with it. And this is basically how it looks like. Okay. The first thing we want to do is we want to run Infection Monkey. Now, Infection Monkey can be run from the island. Okay, sorry, let me log in again because that was caching my previous session. So, Infection Monkey can be run from the island itself, which is the hacker's computer. Okay, that I have control of. But I'm not going to do that because my Monkey Island exists on the 10.10.10.x network, which is the WAN side of my firewall, right? So this is to simulate that it's up on the internet, and these guys are behind the corporate firewall. Okay, and yeah, for my firewall, I have an IP Fire running. IP Fire is quite a simple, basic firewall that can allow me to test things like IPS and IDS and stuff like that. But in this case, I'm just going to demonstrate how it looks like. So before we continue, I'm just going to go to my actual Win 10 Pro just to show you. Let me try to log into my firewall. So this is my IP firewall, and let's look at the firewall rules. So over here I have a whole bunch of rules. These are basically to let traffic, allow outbound traffic from my trusted interface. We can ignore the rest of them. These are for the VPN, for OpenVPN use. This is for the DMZ, which we will not be using in this scenario. So just my corporate LAN, okay, outbound. This is from the trusted zone to any, okay, and incoming, I do have a few port forwarding kind of rules that I've created last time, but as you can see, I've disabled them. Okay, so there is no port on the WAN side of the firewall. There's no incoming. There's no ports which are open up. No, I have not punched any ports through my firewall to allow them access any kind of access into my corporate LAN. Okay, it's just outbound only. And let's see how this looks like from behind the firewall. Okay, let's see how it looks like from behind the firewall. So what is interesting is that when we go to the infection monkey, the console, right? We can launch the scan from the monkey island itself, which we won't be doing because no, we are right now we are separated from the nodes that I want to attack, the targets that I want to attack, which are behind the firewall. So I wouldn't want to launch it from the island itself, but I'm going to go to manual. And over in manual, you can see that we have two options. We have Windows 64-bit, we have Linux 64-bit. And choosing either of this, like if you choose Windows, okay, and it automatically points to the server that we are on right now, okay. It You can see that it generates like a PowerShell kind of a whole bunch of PowerShell that you can just copy and paste into any Windows machine, or probably save it as a PS1 script that you can actually run it on any of the machines that you want to try, that you want to see if how it behaves and works. Okay, so right now I'm just going to run the Windows version of it, and I also run on the Linux version as well. I'll run the Linux version later on, right after this, but let me just run the Windows version. So yeah, there is like a kind of like OTP that expires in 2 minutes or so. You can just kind of like refresh it and copy the command. Okay, so once we copy the command, we'll just go back to Windows, go back to my Win 10 Pro, and I'm just going to sorry, I'm not sure if I have enough time, but let me try it. Okay, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to run as administrator. Okay. Now, do note for testing purpose, this machine actually has Windows Defender disabled. Rather, I need to disable it again because it actually just reset itself, and yeah, you need to turn off the Windows Defender real-time protection to test monkey, to test infection monkey. If not, it will actually block infection monkey. Okay, so turn off your Windows Defender. Okay, and let me go back to the console again and refresh and copy the command. And I'm just going to paste this command into Windows. This is a Windows 10 VM workstation. Okay, and you can see that it does the monkey agent actually launches, and it starts to basically right now what it does is that it is so-called infecting this Windows 10 Pro. Okay, and it is making the call back into my monkey island server. Okay, so this is going to take some time because as it runs, it will also scan the network that's behind the firewall, which is basically the corporate LAN that we have over here. Okay, the 192.168.50 network. And I'm going to fire off also on server 102. Now you notice that in my diagram, I do not have a server 101, but 101 actually does exist, except I didn't draw it into the diagram. So I'm just going to run the same similar command, okay? And this time I'm going to choose Linux 64-bit, and I'm going to copy this command, and I'm going to go to 101, okay? And I'm just going to run this command, and I'm probably going to sorry, let me just clear the screen, and I'm going to do a sudo. Okay, I'm going to run this command. I'm not sure why is it denied. Oh, okay, fine, maybe I'll just run it straight and see what happens. Or maybe I just run as root directly. Hmm. Okay, and let me just paste the command. Yep. So right now it's running. I'm not sure if the Linux version actually works for this. I've tested this on Windows only. I'm not sure if it works on Linux because probably this is my first time testing against Linux. Let's hope it works. I am running as root after all. Yeah. Okay, so once this is going on, we can click on the infection map, and you can see it starts to build. It's pretty cool actually. It starts to build like it builds a kind of like graphical map for you to see know what's happening. So you can see that I ran the agent on Win10 Pro, okay, and Win10 Pro is slowly scanning the same network, the corporate network, and it's showing me all the machines that it's able to see, okay. Um, yeah, oddly it says 10.10.10.252, which is my firewall's WAN IP address, okay, internet-facing IP address, but that's fine. Infection Monkey is over here. This is the Monkey Island itself that's launched from, and you can see that they start to build this map out. They start to slowly flash out the map, and build it and make it look more robust. You can see the different connections. Like, if it's yellow color arrows means that these are the path that is scanning that target, and then when you see that things like those in gray means that there's already some kind of like a island communication back to the actual C2 server. So right now we are simulating, or rather we are emulating, a C2 kind of infection across your corporate LAN. Okay, and this will take some time while the report this report will keep changing because they're still scanning and it's not yet ready. So it's still in the process. You can see that some agents are still running, and we have to wait for the report to finish. And there also will be a ransomware report. You can see that some of it already came in. Um, and okay, let's just cover a little bit. So while waiting for this to finish, this will take some time. I'm just going to go to configuration to show you a few of the options that we have in the Infection Monkey platform. So we do have a bunch of exploiters. It's not really that much. They have something like the most common exploiters. Okay, like MS SQL, Log4Shell, um, yeah, SSH, and so on and so forth. So we have a whole bunch of exploiters over here that you can read about and find out more. Okay, a bunch of ports that we can use to check, and network analysis. You can define what segment we want to scan or which segments we do not want to scan and things like that. Okay, yeah, there's a whole bunch of it that we can do. Actually, I think that I should have, to make it more accurate, I should have kind of like specify the 192.168.50 segment, which I did not, which I actually failed to specify earlier. So this was my mistake, but that's fine. It still picks it up anyway, right? You can see from here, it's building up a whole map of the network. So I know that this is where I'm coming from, right? I know that 252 is the public IP, and you can see that there's a whole bunch of other machines which are connected behind the firewall. Okay, and okay, so going back to configuration, we can have things like credentials. Okay, so if you happen to be able to know some of the credentials that they might be using, how is this useful in a corporate network? For example, maybe I'm a new administrator. I just joined this company. I just joined this organization. I took over a whole bunch of documentation, and I realized that, in some of this documentation that belongs to, let's say, an application server that was deployed by a certain systems integrator years ago or months ago, inside the documentation there may be maybe a bunch of credentials, and I want to know if these credentials can can be used. No, they might be credentials which are reused in other services as well, or other servers as well. Assuming, let's say, we're using the same vendor, the same systems integrator, to do this for us, we can try to take that set of credentials and see if it has been reused on multiple machines, and based on that, are we able to actually pivot into other machines as well? Okay, so I do have a whole bunch of credentials that I put in already. Of course, there's a lot of ways to get these credentials, not just like that. No, there are other ways. Like I mean, if let's say they do gain a foothold on your network, they do infect one of the computers, one of your PCs or laptops. They can run things like keyboard loggers, and they can actually log credentials from there as well. Those work as well. So once they get that, they will be able to pivot in a much faster and easier way to the rest of your other networks. And this is only just one segment of your network. If you have multiple in the corporate world, usually they have multiple VLANs. They can pivot to multiple VLANs. Pivot even to your other DMZ segments and things like that, or to your wireless segments, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's basically how it works. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah, and these are a little bit more advanced stuff, like we can randomize the agent hash. This is something like we want to bypass. We change the agent hash so that antivirus won't be able to detect it and stuff like that. No, but we're not going to play with this today, so we're just going to do the basic stuff. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so basically this is how it works. We could even simulate like a ransomware payload and stuff like that, but we won't be doing that today. Okay, so yeah, you can kind of like click around this and play around with this yourself. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And while the report is still running, okay, I'm going to kind of pause the video. I'm going to pause the video so that we can get back to this later. It's going to take some time anyway, so yeah, it's still running. Yeah, so let me just pause the video and I'll get back to this right after this, okay? Alright, so I've stopped the scan because it was taking a little bit too long and I just wanted to complete this video. Okay, so back again to the network diagram. We have simulated an external C2 server, which is the Monkey Island, and we have actually ran the agent on the Win10 Pro as well as SVR102. And SVR102 has also found another server, or rather, it's actually infected another server based on reuse of credentials, okay, via SSH or RDP, and it has infected another server called 101, SVR101. And also, the hidden PC that is connected to Win10 Pro has also been discovered and found by Infection Monkey. Okay, so let's go back to the console of Infection Monkey, and this is basically how it looks like. Okay, once it's done, it looks a little bit complicated. Yeah, but you can see it's quite clear. So the red color arrows lines mean that they have gained access to that machine based on exploits. Okay, it's able to cross-infect, and in this case, like 102 was infected first, and 102 via an SSH attack using the reuse of credentials is able to gain access to SVR101. Okay, and we can see that Infection Monkey is over here. This is our C2 server, right? So yeah, this is our C2 server. And if you click on any of the machines, let's say for example, like on SVR102 that we infected earlier, we can see that it's actually you can see something like an exploit timeline. Okay, and you click on Win10 Pro, you can see the same thing. There's also like via RTP, and it's able to show us that we have also gained access to another machine, which is a 192.168.1.2 that's connected to Win10 Pro, a hidden machine. This is our hidden PC. Okay, yeah. So this one is via RTP. Okay, and yeah, so what it does is that it generates a very nice kind of mapping for you to see how the path of the infection took place. Okay, how it actually calls back to the main the Monkey Island C2 server. Okay. Yeah, and this is basically how it looks like. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And let's go to the security reports and see how the reports actually look like. I didn't run the ransomware part because the ransomware part would require additional setup. It's a little bit more complicated, where you can actually write to certain files on the hard disk, so I didn't want to really run it. But it does show some lateral movement, and you can see that 2 machines were exploited by RDP exploiter and 2 machines were exploited by SSH exploiter. So you can see that there were discovered machines, okay, 1.2, 192.168.1.2, and these are the machines which were infected. Okay, and our security report basically looks something like this. Okay, usernames that we use for brute forcing, and credentials that were available for brute forcing as well. We provided those, and it shows you like Okay, Win10 Pro, change user passwords to complex passwords. So they tell you stuff like that to tell you like maybe use more difficult passwords so it will not be able to brute force via RTP. Okay, and yeah, known credentials, and you can actually see things like prevent brute force against SSH as well. So you can change to a more complex password, or maybe in the case of SSH, maybe even use things like the SSH keys to access the servers instead of typing the password. Right? That's another way, because SSH servers can be configured to prevent a direct login, and the only way to log into it is via SSH, the use of SSH keys. So these are stuff that you can see. Network from the infection monkey's eyes. Okay, we can see that 50% of it scan machines were exploited. Okay, these are the things that we can see. So I mean, obviously, we can see that this lab was set up in such a way that it was meant to be really easy for infection monkey to run and exploit those machines. In real life, obviously, there'll be a lot more things, right? In the real corporate world, they have all kinds of antivirus, right? And obviously, they have things like next-gen antivirus. They have XDRs and even extended kind of XDRs, things like that. So those are even more complex and more in-depth kind of next-gen kind of anti-malware defense, which can detect and stop this kind of infection from spreading. Yeah, but yeah, this is basically just like an intro to what Infection Monkey can do. Okay, so this is actually a very good software that you can use to run against your UAT network, not your production network, because it does leave behind artifacts on your machines, and you do not want that on your production machines. Okay, so yeah, that on your UAT machine is fine, because UAT machine is basically for testing, and anyway, those artifacts are safe as well. It is okay to leave them behind on your UAT machines or your test machines. Yeah, and you can also kind of like limit the spread of which networks you want it to propagate to. Okay, you can actually limit the spread as well. In my case, I didn't limit the spread. I allow it to go as far as it can, just to be able to detect hidden machines, pivot to other machines, other networks as well. Okay, yeah, but this is basically how it looks like. So you can see that right now, I'm on the Monkey Island machine, which simulates the C2 server, and I'm able to have a very nice drawn out map of all the machines which are behind the firewall. I know that the firewall's public IP is on 10.10.10.252. This is the firewall's public IP. Okay, and so anything that's outside, or rather anything that's inside 10.10.10.252. Okay, uh, this is probably like my other router that I'm going out towards the internet. 10.10.252 is basically my firewall, and anything else that's not part of the 10.10.10 network. Okay, all these are all under the 192.168.50 network and the 1 dot network. Okay, all these are all behind the firewall. Okay, so this is something that I showed to my friend, and I explained to him that it doesn't mean that if you guys run like a external pen test against the block of your public IPs and it shows as nothing, it means that you're secure, because the way hackers get onto your network is always via some kind of very advanced C2 kind of complex, advanced kind of C2 malware, where they somehow get it onto your network. They got so many ways of infecting your machines, either by a drive-by, they can just get your users to send them phishing emails with malicious links for them to click and download infected files, infected documents. It can be anything, right? It can be infected PDF files or something like that actually exploits your browser, some kind of a browser vulnerability that allows them to write to the hard disk, the operating system, take control of the operating system, things like that. And there's even been methods that hackers use, for example, like to just kind of like find out who are the C-level guys within a company, and they actually physically send infected kind of USB sticks to those C-level executives. Okay, your C-suite people, hoping that one of them will just plug it in, and once they plug into your laptop or the computer, it infects and it starts spreading across the whole network. So very, very, very scary stuff. Okay, very, very scary. Infection Monkey is great for demonstrating a point to management. Okay, again, don't run it on your production network because it's noisy and it creates a lot of artifacts on all your machines. So do it on a test network or network that is set up for simulation. But it makes a very good point to management. It shows management that we do not need to even open any ports, punch any holes through the firewall. Okay, we do not need to punch holes through the firewall in order to compromise machines that are behind your firewall, because once a machine gets infected, it moves laterally, it spreads to other machines or other subnets, other networks as well, and they all make a call back to the C2 server. And from the C2 server, I can control all these machines. Really, really scary stuff. Okay. Yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed this little demo, this little session of Infection Monkey, and yeah, that's all for today. And have a great day. Thank you.